time has come. Execute Order 66.
Yes, my lord. Blast him!
Alright, guys.
Sam, stop doing intros when you're already standing
I always
up.
do that, guys. You know
Holy
why? Because I'm just so
shit.
excited to start speaking on Laymen Gamon. If people that are new, it used to be called Laymen Gaming, but really it's, you know, we're a more higher echelon now. It's called Laymen Gamon.
We need to get merch. We need to have like a
Laymen-
like the normal Layman Gaming shirt, and then we have like a French version.
Yeah.
And it's Laymen Gamon with like the French flag clout.
Fragrance from...
That's right. So, let's get serious. Let's get serious. This is a fucking serious video, okay? A few days ago I did a video about my top 10 favorite YouTubers, and in that video I talked about a journalist named Jason Schreier. He's from Kotaku. He's pretty much the only journalist in the field. He's the only one actually breaking news, whereas everybody else is just scouring Reddit for drama.
Yeah.
But is that your thing? You read some obscure passage and then pretend you pawn it off as your own?
Jason has put out an article just this morning talking about behind-the-scenes stuff for EA's new Anthem, the game that's being developed by BioWare, and the stuff that he has put forward is completely crazy, and it completely changes the discussion about Anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. This is your cue to say something.
Oh, hello everyone. This
Wow.
is my cue to say something.
It's like,
ta-da!
pull the string.
Yeah, there's a snake in my boots.
Anthem was announced at E3 last year. Sam and I were actually in the audience.
Yes, and I was very excited for it. When I looked at it, I thought, wow, this is going to be the competitor to, you know, you name it. Destiny, Division, Warframe,
FIFA,
Super
Mario
of course,
Brothers,
Mario Brothers.
Call of Duty.
It just looked really cool. I was just like, wow, this is going to be great. I was very excited for it.
It was quite cool. Being a looter shooter fan myself, I was ecstatic, and EA actually sort of tapped me on the shoulder back then to say, hey man, you're going to love this. This is back when EA actually spoke to me. Things have changed since then.
Those years ago.
Awkward.
Well,
but you know, it would look fantastic. There's no argument there. No one saw Anthem and thought that game looks shit, right? Unless you're being super cynical. Okay, it looked spectacular, and everyone was really pumped about it, thinking, okay, cool. Now they listed a release date of this year. It's going to come out apparently the end of 2018. And one of the first things that this new article from Jason Schreier covers is the fact that, yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
They say that the game, his sources have indicated the game is going to be pushed until probably March 2019.
Yep.
And that is a bit of a hard deadline, because if you imagine, you know, EA is a company, it's got shareholders, they think about things in a financial calendar. They want to make sure that they get this out by March because it looks the best on their books. They'll permit a little bit of a delay, but not past March 2019.
Yeah.
So I think there's a good chance we can expect it then. Do not expect it in 2018.
And look, I remember us having a chat about this when we didn't see it on the upcoming games of 2018 in the Game Awards, and we're like, I wonder why that's not there. There's a lot of hype there, and we were like, maybe because it's just not going to be actually released this year.
Yeah. So that, look, not confirmed yet, but very, very likely. Numerous sources of BioWare telling Jason Schreier that this is not happening in 2018, so be ready for that. The other thing he says is that BioWare is pretty much a single game studio at this point. Now, BioWare has a whole bunch of different IP that it manages. The first is the Dragon Age franchise. Now, what was fascinating about this article is he said that the Dragon Age, there is another Dragon Age game currently in development. It's called Project Joplin, like Janis Joplin, as opposed to, you know, Anthem, which was Project Dylan, like Bob Dylan. They got a thing going on.
Yeah.
So that is still in development, but what they've said is that they've had to pull most of their staff off the development of Dragon Age and onto Anthem. Now, this is a big deal because they've even got the executive producer of the Dragon Age series, pretty much the head honcho of the Dragon Age, off that and onto Anthem now.
Jesus.
He just tweeted out this morning saying that he's now on Anthem as well.
It just shows that they're in panic mode. I mean,
Well,
if
I
you're
don't know
putting...
panic mode. I wouldn't say panic mode. It's very normal for a developer to marshal all its resources towards a big game release in the year of release. That's very standard practice.
Sure, but I wonder if that's not in the wake of what has happened with EA's brand. That's what I'm saying. I wonder.
That's true.
It could have easily been a situation where the brand's strong. Everyone loved Star Wars Battlefront 2. Everything's going well. That's cool, guys. You keep doing Dragon Age, and we'll keep doing our thing over here with Anthem. But you know, in my situation, if I was in that position, I'd be like, shit. We need to make sure that this big, up and coming game has all the best men we have on that project, because it could be our make or break for sure.
Definitely. And I guess further to this, on the topic of Dragon Age, the really, really, really scary thing that came out from this article was this idea, and I'll read it to you here. It said that Dragon Age was rebooted. The goal, sources say, was to implement more live elements into the game, although two of those sources stress that this next Dragon Age will still have a heavy focus on characters and story whenever it does come out. It's not clear what a live version of Dragon Age might look like, but EA has been public about its embrace of games as a service and its lack of interest in releasing $60 games that do not have any sort of revenue tail, whether that means paid extra content, microtransactions, or something else. Now, as a big Dragon Age fan, like a proper Dragon Age fan from back in the day, by the way, like the original game, this fucking breaks my heart. Fuck off, okay? This is not Dragon Age. Dragon Age doesn't need to be a live game. Dragon Age is a game with awesome characters and stories, and then you finish it and it's done.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, fuck off with live services for Dragon Age.
It just shows again that they're, yet again, they're not interested in actually changing their philosophy. Like, when Bethesda made Wolfenstein, they could have done all sorts of stuff with multiplayers, but they didn't. They were like, this is a single player game. You start here and you finish here. That's it. It looks like they're just, again, trying to touch things that don't need to be touched.
Exactly. No one was saying, oh, I really wish, Dragon Age has some shitty multiplayer component that just kept going forever. No one wants that. Dragon Age is what Dragon Age is. Leave it alone and just give us more of it. That's simple. It's super simple.
I agree.
So this is here. It's very concerning. They've rebooted the project. We don't know when it's going to come. We don't know how it's going to be when it gets here. But it's real alarm bell territory for this. Now, the article goes on and continues to talk about Anthem and BioWare, okay? So it's a single game studio. The other IP that it manages is Star Wars The Old Republic. Remember that one?
Of course.
That MMO that we're all
It looked really cool.
It looked awesome.
And then we're like, maybe this is going to take the top spot of WoW, but of course it came out and it didn't. Let's face it.
It died really fast.
Yeah.
So there's actually the other thing that was revealed in this article is that there are discussions going on right now at BioWare about ceasing development on Star Wars The Old Republic completely. So that would be the end of that game.
No maintaining the servers.
Well, they'll keep the servers alive, but no more updates.
I didn't even know they was doing updates. I thought it was dead.
No, it's pretty much dead.
I'm not dead. What? Nothing. Here's your ninepence. I'm not dead.
Yeah. He says he's not dead.
Yes, he is. I'm not.
He isn't.
Well, he will be soon. He's very ill.
I mean, there's still a player base out there. There'll be people in the comments, I'm sure, who still play it.
Yeah,
It's a fantastic single-player game from the perspective of the great stories, great leveling experience. When you hit the end game, it's not great, and they've never really invested in that. If it dies, I'd be sad for the community that's still playing it, but at the same time, you've got to sort of cut your losses, and clearly this is not going to be a big title.
100%. Just like we were talking about the other day about a company that sometimes you just got to look at the data, and if you're not, if they're not making the money that they need to, or if you cannot keep your men in that development team, and you've got to get them out.
All women,
of course.
Sexist Sam
Strikes again. You've got to get them out. You've got to make sure that they're in the right place to make sure that the business is growing. I totally get it. Get it.
That's Dragon Age covered off. That's Star Wars: The Old Republic covered off. Now let's talk about microtransactions and Anthem, okay? Because that's also quite juicy. Now, obviously, everything blew the fuck up with Star Wars Battlefront 2 last year, and that was EA's baby. Thank God it did.
Thank God it brought so much people here, so we really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Star Wars, for giving us an audience.
Yes.
But they did say this. It was a really fascinating quote here about microtransactions. From what I've heard, the loot box controversy has led a number of big video game studios, including BioWare, to re-examine their plans for microtransactions in future games. Although Anthem's microtransaction plans are still undecided, and I hear may only involve cosmetics.
Cosmetic, yeah.
It's just cosmetic.
It's just cosmetic, as Jim would say. The fact is, if they're really still looking to implement... Look, I understand that they want to make money off their games and they want to make sure they continue to make money off their games. That's fine. But, like, God, haven't they seen already now that, you know, even, like, just even cosmetics or pay to win, like, it's just bad taste in your mouth, and people will look at this and go, nah, this is EA again doing the same shit they always do.
Well, I mean, we don't know what it is yet, so I think everyone's going to bring a healthy degree of skepticism to Anthem here in this front, and I'm glad about that. They should bring that skepticism. I think it's good that they're re-examining the microtransaction
100%.
model, because it means that they're listening to what's happened out in the market, and they're like, hey, maybe when we stuff this game full of pay-to-win loot boxes, that wasn't such a good idea.
Yeah,
now,
but it, like, they're not listening to us. They're listening to the share. They're listening to the, you know, to the sales. And
well, it's funny you say that.
Because they had to change how much they actually were thinking that they were going to make for that quarter.
Maybe they are listening to us, Sam, because one other quote within this article was this.
Here we go.
2 people who have worked on Anthem both expressed anxiety to me about the ways that some big YouTubers have spread misinformation and inflammatory and inflammatory rhetoric about EA, saying that it has a demoralizing effect on those people on the ground level.
Oh, really?
To people who work for EA, the publisher isn't just a cold corporate master, it's a complicated machine that, yes, is concerned first and foremost with generating revenue for investors, but also supports thousands of people in many tangible and intangible ways. People close to BioWare, along with many other developers I've talked to in recent months, worry that commentary from some of YouTube's loudest voices has eliminated nuance and made companies like EA seem like Disney villains.
You mean you don't like me?
Shame on you, Jim Sterling.
How dare you, Jim Sterling?
Shame on you, Yong Ye.
I think it's... I saw another
terrible.
channel that do dank memes, and maybe it's something to do with the dank memes.
No.
Maybe.
Okay,
Who
so
knows?
this quote right here is fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, obviously, everyone loves to rip on EA. We love to rip on EA, but there is a reason for that. It's because EA are fucked. I'm sorry. It's nice to be able to say that on the ground level, there's real people working for them, and they do nice things and whatever else, but I'm sorry. Very few companies have distorted our medium as much as EA is distorting it right
100%.
now. It's like if you work for Phil Morris, the cigarette company, and you're like, oh, it's really demoralizing for people on the ground when they hear people talk about Phil. No, I'm sorry. You own this, man. You work for this company. That's what this is.
I agree.
You can't have it both ways.
It's ultimately, you know, if you are working for a company, that's all well and good. I'm sure there's many nice people in that company. But, you know, if the ethos of that company, if the philosophy of that company is really to, you know, misinform in so many ways, you know, the people that are buying your game, in terms of making it pay to win to an extent where you're just extorting them. Like, you're putting them in a position where they have to buy a game. They don't know what they're buying, really, in terms of when they're buying Star Wars Battlefront 2, they didn't really know how much extra money they had to put in. That's the truth.
And even stuff like Need for Speed, because I think Need for Speed is actually the best example of EA's shititude right now, because it was such a lazy crap game, stuffed full of pay-to-win microtransactions, that it was just so bad. Like, every game in EA's portfolio this year, sports games, racing games, Star Wars Battlefront, was stuffed full of pay-to-win bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you can't claim, oh, it's so annoying being made the Disney villain when you're going down that path, man. Of course you're going to get called out for that shit. So
if you look at Nintendo, for instance, I mean, the IP is strong. You know, the Switch is selling like hotcakes. You know, the bottom line is the quality is there, so they're making shit tons of money. It's not like you have to put microtransactions to be a successful business. Like, you know, the proof is in the pudding that if you make great games and you make a great product, you will sell the shit out of that product.
Definitely.
Like, this is bottom line. So
anyway, shame on you, Jim Sterling. Shame on you, Pretty Good Gaming, for your sensationalizing of EA.
It's never us.
It's never us. But there's actually one other thing that came through this article as well, and that was the idea that Anthem are very closely watching Destiny. And they're saying that they're watching the frustration that Destiny is facing right now, Destiny 2, and they're saying and some developers are worrying that Anthem will have to go through the same thing, because big, ambitious games like this go through growing pains. They launch in a bit of a meh state, and then they get better over time, and the question mark that Jason Schreier leaves here is, will EA have patience for Anthem? Will they actually back it in the long term, and will they stick with it to see it grow? Or, if it's average at launch, will they just be like, we're done here?
I don't think they will, because look, you know, for EA to continue, there's two things here. Number one, of course, they have the sports games, so they don't really have to invest in this type of IP, I think. Regardless of if Anthem takes off or not, EA will be fine. EA will be fine.
They've got their sports.
But it's all about the brand power right now. You know, if they're smart, they want to build that shit up again. And that's how they do it. They stick with a game, they build a fan base, and they make a fantastic game that's not riddled with microtransactions. In 5 or 10 years, that is how you're going to maybe get your brand back to a state where you can, you know, be as revered as... I know there's plenty of microtransactions in, you know, Blizzard, okay? But in terms of the quality that they put out, they're revered for their quality. You know that's going to be a damn good game. Same with Nintendo. They're revered for their quality. So it's going to be a 5 or 10 year stint, I think, before they really start getting their brand power back. They need to stick with this game. There's no alternative, in my opinion.
I think that's true. I think that's true. So the ultimate message from this article is that BioWare staff are worried that if this doesn't land well, that BioWare's finished. That was it. It's make or break for them. Either the studio will close down or EA will just swallow it up in the sense that they'll lose all creative control. They won't be able to do their passion projects. They'll just be shoveling out casual pay-to-win garbage forever.
Yeah.
And a lot of people already say that BioWare is dead right now. The old BioWare's gone. I don't know, to be honest. This is a test.
Yeah, this is it.
If this comes out and it's a proper BioWare game like we remember, then BioWare's still alive. But if it's shit, then yeah, they're
Can you
finished.
imagine if they close another studio?
And as BioWare, and BioWare would be their most prestigious scalp.
Oh, wow, that
It
would
would
just
be so heartbreaking.
You know?
I am hopeful that Anthem releases in a good state and it is a good game for the people at BioWare because I love that studio. I am so disappointed in Jim Sterling and Yong Ye
How
for their
dare
coverage.
they? Yeah, and
It's
pretty good gaming,
and
you
pretty
know.
good gaming as well.
We are always here to say good things about EA and Bungie. God, we wouldn't say anything bad about any company that put any microtransaction in because that's not what we do, people.
You liar!
Execute Order 66.